Welcome to the Media Bubble podcast, the podcast that talks all geeky media related topics. I'm Fredrik and he's Karol. Let's get this show on the bubble.
Ooh.
And in today's episode, we're going to travel to a Marvel TV special called Werewolf by Night. And now I'm going to stop talking like that because I probably couldn't keep that up.
I mean, I wouldn't have anything against you just going on full vampire mode for the rest of the episode.
I don't think I could. And plus, we're not going to talk about vampires, we're going to talk about werewolves.
Yes, with the latest special by Marvel called Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, I guess this is the latest thing they put out in some way, I guess.
Yeah, and it's quite different from their usual works.
Yeah, let's see. Werewolf by Night is a 53-minute, a bit shorter because of credits, special that Marvel produced of one of their more horror titles, Werewolf by Night. Or horror, one monster, you can say. And this is directed by, let's see, Michael Giacchino.
Michael Giacchino.
Yeah, who is apparently an American composer, and he has composed for a lot of earlier films, some Pixar, some Marvel, some different stuff, but he has apparently never lost the dream of directing something, and this was an opportunity for him to direct something, and so he chose, I guess, to do something with Werewolf by Night, and something that I guess is very noticeable in this TV special is that it's kind of noticeable that it is a composer that has directed this, because sounds are kind of present in a positively way everywhere.
Yeah, the audio direction for the whole special, just like you said, is pretty stellar. During the fights, it's intense. During the choir moments, it's appropriate. The whole ending big fight scene felt lively because of all the just the music and everything going on. So I say that he did that. You can definitely see his composer influence in the whole movie.
Okay, so to the story. Let's see. So there's something that is called the Bloodstone,
and it's owned by Ulysses Bloodstone, aptly named.
Yeah, but it was owned by the.
It's his family that owned the gem through the generations, and they were monster hunters.
Yeah, so this is kind of the main use to hunt monsters. That's kind of why the Bloodstone family had been so successful throughout history, is because this Bloodstone has some magic when it comes to hunting monsters.
Yeah, it weakens them when they're nearby.
Yeah, so and the latest family heir has just died on this very night.
Well, not really. There is an heir. It's just that she's not credible enough. She's not. She has left the family, and I'm talking here about Elsa. She's the daughter of the concurrent owner of the gem, but since she's been out of the family for so long, she doesn't qualify anymore to get the gem the straightforward way.
Yeah, but she can apparently get the gem in another way.
Yeah, which is a
Wait a bit before we do that. Before we meet Elsa, the first character that we are introduced to is Jack, Russell. I wonder who he is. But anyway, who is played by Gail Garcia Bernal. And Jack enters the story, and how it is explained to us is that a bunch of different monster hunters are gathering this night for some kind of purpose. We don't yet know why, but there's a bunch of monster hunters there. And then Elsa Bloodstone enters, who is played by Laura Donnell. And as we kind of explained, she's the daughter who wasn't very liked, I guess, left the family. Now comes back because she wants the Bloodstone. Yeah. And what happens next, Karol?
So, as you explained, Elsa comes back from her hula outside of the family, and she's confronted by her mother, who basically...
Stepmother.
Well, yeah, but basically she hates her for leaving the family. All of the hunters boasting impressive kills are then instructed into a auditorium, and a plan is laid out. The Bloodstone is up for grabs, but to get it, the hunters will need to enter a maze-like garden. Well, it's a maze. They enter a maze haunted by a monster, and the gem is a fixture to said monster. They'll have to slay it and receive the gem, and thus they will become the head of the household. The twist is the weapons are scattered about, and other hunters are also fair game. So it's a game of hunt and be hunted. For the title of the leader of the monster hunters.
I might just as well mention that the one that explained this game for them was the old corpse of the old Bloodstone man who had just died.
Yeah, so fun fact, they stuffed the dude and made him into like a Freddy Fazbear animatronic. And I have to say, if I were to die, and if I was not burned to ashes, as is my last request, please make me into an animatronic.
What you can still keep talking and things like that.
Just stuff like a Bluetooth speaker in my mouth so I can bang out Taylor Swift songs for when I feel like it.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, still better than being forgotten.
I'm not sure if I have such a problem about being forgotten. You're going to be forgotten in some way in the future anyway.
Oof. Such harsh words. But anyway.
Well, when they get into the maze, but before the creepy animatronic says, "I'm rotting for you."
Yeah, and
who
and it's just some graveyard humor.
Yeah. And so they get to this maze, and the first one to enter is Jack Russell. I guess they drew a lot or something like that.
Yeah, which is also a fun thing, since you can see in this scene that Jack is not used to the traditions of the club, which means that he's an outsider, that he's kind of faking it.
One detail I just like about this scene is that in the background you heard some kind of trombone sound with a blick on Jack Russell, and then when Jack Russell goes into this maze, there is that trombone. There's a trombone falling player that's following him.
Yeah, did you know that they credited the flaming tuba on the IMDb page?
Oh, it's a tuba. Okay, I'm not the best on blowing instruments.
I mean, I've only read the name, so I assume it's a tuba. But it's just it's so cool.
I don't know. I would say that I know a lot of instruments, but blowing instruments is I'm not good on those.
I mean, as with every instrument, you'd have to at least have some skills with it. But I wouldn't mind playing a flaming tuba. It's just such a cool idea, okay?
So, every monster hunter enters this maze, and when some of them meet each other, they try to kill each other also.
Yeah, but not before Jack just casually, slowly, normally, without fear, goes through the maze, like just casually.
Yeah, it's almost like he's looking for something slowly.
Exactly, which kind of at first seeing of the at the first like time I saw the movie, I was kind of like, that's kind of anticlimactic. Like, why should I feel scared for this character if they're not scared themselves?
Well, at the same time, we are probably not going to say this just yet, but it's at the same time very clear who Jack Russell is by the name of the title. But anyway,
As Jack is going through the maze, he stumbles upon Elsa, and they have a somewhat of a truce, which then is promptly interrupted by the first fight of the movie with the North Irishmen between him and Elsa. And I feel like a strong point of the special is the fights, because it's kind of a little bit different from what we normally see in horror movies. There's more grueling fights. There's more damage. There's more blood. There's more like arrows being shot through necks and bones being crushed and like mold.
yeah. So Elsa kills a man
On screen.
and then yeah, and then she goes into hiding on kind of a graveyard. No,
A crypt, a mausoleum.
yeah, one of those. And in the meantime, Jack finds the monster,
Yes.
and it turns out that it's his friend, Man-Thing.
Is it a joke because it's friend and his name is Ted, like because they sound similar? Am I pulling at straws here?
Probably.
Yeah, I feel like that.
I just think that they chose Ted because they wanted a name that doesn't sound so scary.
I mean, yeah. At the same time, what would your first pick be to call a humongous vine monster?
Ted.
Yeah, exactly, Ted.
No, I don't know what I would call it. Its name in the comics is Man-Thing. I'm not sure if it has the name Ted there too. But in this TV special, it has the name Ted.
But I'd imagine like he cannot put on his like driver's license man thing. Like it has to be like a regular name.
And Man-Thing's thing is he is a big green Tresk monster, you can say, who is kind of like 3 meters high or something like that, and apparently if he touches you with his hand, he can apparently burn you from the inside, from what I could understand.
Jeez. It gave him like his powers, and his appearance really gave him that Cthulhu, unearthly, mossy monster vibe, because like yeah, like that's something like I would expect that Cthulhu would do, like just burn people to crisp with their hands, with their claws.
So Jack, I don't quite remember what happens now, but Jack and the monster get separated for a little bit of time, and he meets up with Elsa, and they get locked into this Carol. What was that name again? Mausoleum together. And I guess they kind of have a heart-to-heart with each other.
Yeah, so seeing how they didn't attack each other on sight, they could kind of bond over their shared families. Jack having said, like, saying himself that his family is probably way different than from Elsa's, but it's equally as weird and dangerous.
He kind of says that either if the family is good or bad, it's kind of something, they're kind of still stuck in us in air or something like that.
But can I say how I really like the sets in the movie? Like, as we're right now in the mausoleum, it's really like visually distinct from the rest of the movie. It feels very gothic, and it feels very like just like a Monster Hunter crypt would feel like.
Yeah, I guess we probably haven't said that this special also is in black and white.
If you've seen any promotional material, yes, you'd probably understand that. But yeah, the whole film is indeed in black and white. I feel it was distinctly trying to make it feel like one of those old-timey B movies, right?
Not B movies, but old horror movies or monster movies, you can say. Yeah, that was exactly what they were going for, Carol, and those films, and most of those films were in black and white, and yeah, that is kind of what this draw inspiration from, and it's kind of unique how they, I guess, use black and white in some creative ways, and just how visually a special can look because of black and white.
Yeah, as I said before, this whole special feels very distinct because it is just based on the color palette. It's distinct. Uh, but I also liked their use just of red. It was basically only used on the gem, which made it feel way more magical than I feel it was.
Okay, so Elsa and Jack, who have this heart and heart, decide to kind of come up with a plan together, because she doesn't really care about killing the monster, she just wants the gem, and Jack wants to help the monster Ted escape.
Which I think is a little bit sus. Seeing how Elsa comes from a family of monster hunters and she goes along with this plan, and she doesn't think for a minute to think, hey, I'm gonna let out a monster. Isn't that quite bad?
Well, she just didn't really care so much for her family and their traditions, I guess.
But I was feeling more like in the sense that she's letting out a monster out on the streets, and that's kind of like a mean thing to anyone.
Yeah, but Jack said that it was his friend.
I guess it shows how
and
strong of more focus she has.
And Jack seems friendly. So,
heart to heart, and then they escape the mausoleum.
Yeah, they escaped because one of her relatives, who thought that she would come back to life, hid some keys in her coffin, so they could escape. Yeah, so they managed to. So Elsa managed to find Ted, and she takes him to Jack, and so Man-Thing escapes. But for some reason, Jack stays on a little while and does probably the most stupidest thing in this special. He touches the bloodstone.
Yeah.
Which reveals that he is a monster.
He probably... It could be explained with Jack not knowing the properties of the stone. With just him like, yeah, it weakens the monster, but he probably didn't assume he would just be like flung back from the thing.
Yeah. But he should have heard of it at least.
Yeah, maybe. But people make mistakes even when they're monsters. And both him and Elsa end up in this big circular, like half-circular cage. They wake up from them being unconscious by being tased for breaking the rules.
Kind of like a bird cage.
Exactly. And they wake up in this bird cage and they strategize on what they can do. Elsa can't really trust Jack because it turns out that he's a monster. Elsa...
She isn't really a help in this planning, if to be honest.
Well, she basically just said, like, just stay away from me until you can't. Which is, like, word for word. Like, you're gonna turn into a monster. I'm probably gonna die. This was a big mistake on my part. I shouldn't have done anything.
Well, yeah, Jack, on the other hand, is like... Oh, we're going to get to plan something. I don't turn into a monster in the next full moon.
And like they can force you, Jack, to change. You know, the Bloodstone, it has that ability.
Oh, sorry, I don't know anything about that stone.
Yeah, but apparently no research went into this whole shebang. And then he comes up with the idea to sniff Elsa, which looked very awkward on screen, but I guess that was also the idea of it. And and he instructs Elsa to look deeply into his eyes and not break eye contact. How romantic.
Yes, so this why he did this is so she maybe had some he maybe had some possibility of remembering here when he turns into a monster. Can I just say that whenever these two characters has a quiet moment, the two actors just shine for me. Like they are so good in this special.
Oh boy. Okay, then I'm gonna keep what I wanted to say quiet to myself.
Okay, well, let's continue then.
The hunters come back clad in like robes. It's very ceremonial and very goth, which is the whole vibe this special is going for. And then the mother takes off her mask and it's like mascara running down. Like, how would you do this to me? Betraying our family for a monster. Now you'll see what they're truly made of. And like, we are very kind to you monsters because we kill you out of pity and misery. Because we feel like you're doing so much damage, it's the only right thing. And then Jack turns into a werewolf.
Yeah, she kind of forces the werewolf out of him, and there also comes a lot of smoke because the electric tasers produces smoke when they're touching Jack, so we couldn't really see that. So now everyone is suddenly looking for the monster who has escaped the birdcage.
But can we kinda talk about the whole transformation sequence? Because, as you said, with this amount of smoke, with this amount of like lights flashing, tasers going off, Elsa cowering in the corner, just looking like befuddled on this whole situation. It was a very nice shot, like when they zoomed in on Elsa, if you remember that one.
She looked scared.
Yeah, and they kinda like it was very artistic. Like you saw the shadow behind her, like the werewolf transforming, just the smoke rolling in on the sides of the screen, screaming, shouting, flashing lights, and it wasn't like very focused. We didn't like they could have done a very well like a full CGI sequence of this guy turning into a werewolf, a la Hulk.
Yeah, but apparently that was something the director didn't want, and
yeah.
Plus, when the werewolf is revealed, it's I feel like that is also one of the things that is supposed to be reminiscent of those early monster films that featured some werewolves of just how Jack looks, because he kind of reminiscent of those.
I wrote on my first viewing not hot, which kind of dragged it down for a film for me.
Well, and so Jack goes on a rampage and starts to kill everyone, and there's also one he kills while Elsa fights the remaining two hunters.
Yeah.
Jack is fighting all the guards with tasers, and there's just this one scene where Jack is killing everyone, and the blood that is sprouting from some of the bodies, or the black and white blood, is some of it sticks on
the screen
or screen.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just this cool sequence of more blood just coming on the screen the more he kills some peoples.
Yeah, and I also have to add, during this whole sequence, as Jack is going through all these guards, it's never a still image. It's still zooming. Like we just have one scene where Jack is zooming all around the screen. No like flashy fight sequences, shot for shot. It's just one still image, Jack going on the rampage, and it's never focused on him, so that we can't really see his like form, which makes it a little bit more scarier. In fact, I feel like.
Yeah, it's kind of the Jaws technique, I guess.
Yeah, which kind of cool, in my opinion. In the meanwhile, just Elsa is going full badass mode and killing everyone.
Yeah, she kills the two other hunters that are still alive.
Yeah, and can we say how brutal that was? Like, she just straight up, like, slits a guy's throat. As he falls on the blade, he just, like, and gonzo, dead. Bye
Yeah.
bye. And then she takes another sword as she's, like, dueling swords with this white hunter lady. She just straight up just donk and puts the blade on in her head.
Mm.
And the screen lingers, which is unusual for Marvel movies.
This was unusually violent for Marvel movies. Or Marvel projects in a whole. Maybe it's because this is kind of a Halloween special, or maybe it's because it's just on Disney Plus, so parents maybe has a bit more control. But this special was a lot more violent than what they usually do.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have like straight up gore or dismemberment. We had like a hand flying off at one point. But I feel like maybe they could get away with it because it was in black and white. And if you
Yeah, that's also one of the things.
yeah, like if you didn't squint too much, you maybe could just see like, oh, like it's not blood, it's just like juice. Like ooh.
That's always been weird for me when it comes to yeah, a bunch of different projects. Like in anime, blood changes to the color purple sometimes,
Or pink if it's
and that's
Danganronpa.
because and that's because if the blood isn't red, apparently can that can make the rating a bit lower for some reason, even though everyone probably gets that it's blood.
Yeah, I mean that was also the case in Germany for some time. For example, a lot of the old Nazi zombie games like COD, they used blue blood instead of red, just to subvert like that rating of its being like a mature game.
Kind of every time you kill someone, oh, he was crying when I killed him.
Oh no, he was full of Gatorade when I killed him. It's just sprouting everywhere. Oh no.
Well, anyway, so Elsa's stepmother, who has the bloodstone, is kind of getting, or is kind of attacking Jack, and Jack can't kind of do anything because she has the bloodstone.
Yeah.
So Elsa comes in and knocks
Yeah.
her on her head, I guess.
And digs into her spine.
Mm.
Like with the chain thing. My god.
And here is where the smelling parts comes in, because Elsa goes to Jack without the bloodstone in hand, or she has it in her back pocket. But so when Jack goes to her, he smells her and lets her be.
Yeah, but she also doesn't break eye contact as per instructions. Which I thought, like, at the first time seeing the movie, I felt like, well, of course he's gonna let her go. They're like the main characters, duh. But this was, at the second time, like, I thought, yeah, it was a little bit explained. Like, she did the thing. Like, she shouldn't die.
And so Jack kind of escapes, and her stepmother is awake again and is really angry. Elsa, how could you let a monster escape? You have dishonored this family name.
Coxgun.
And then Man-Things comes back in, because he is trying to save Jack now. And when he comes in, he grabs this evil stepmother. This really feels like a Disney thing when I think about it.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. This is on Disney Plus, where stepmothers are evil.
Oh my, I thought you were going to say this is Disney Plus, where evil stepmothers die.
Well, I guess Disenchanted is going to have something with that plot detail later. But anyway, so Man-Thing grabs her again and kills her with his magical hands, I guess.
Yeah, she's burned to a crispity crisp and thrown at her husband's remains, and the whole thing explodes, and dad's head just rolls on the floor. Which I thought that was appropriate. Elsa thus becomes the new lord of the house, with her butler saying that he's there to serve. Man-Thing escapes and meets up with Jack at the end of the movie. Him being untransformed and planning to do planning their next step.
So the short, as Carol explained, the short ends with Elsa getting the bloodstone and she sitting on a sofa, and this is where
The color comes back.
it starts to play Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is a song from Wizard of Oz, who kind of did this thing where the movie started in black and white, then turned to color when she got to Oz. So that's kind of a bit of a reference to that when the colors turns. And if I remember this correctly from what I saw, the thing with how the colors looked is, if I remember this correctly, the look of how the colors looked made me think that this was filmed firstly in black and white, then turned to color, because that's kind of how it's similar to a look on how black and white films look when they are turned to color.
Oh, so they didn't film the movie and then switched on a black and white filter. They color corrected it at the end.
Well, I'm not sure if that is how they filmed it or not. I'm just trying to say that I think that is kind of the look they were trying to get.
But do you think there's, besides a callback to Wizards of Oz, do you feel like there's a reason for why the color returned?
Yeah. I think there is a reason. I think it's because. I think it's mainly because Elsa and how I guess this night turned out for her, and how I guess it was black and white before for her with everything, and now there is getting some colors back in her life.
Yeah,
I think
I could see it, since now, if we're summarizing what Elsa could be doing now, her family is dead. She has massive estate. She is free to do whatever she wants. Like, she's free of all her problems in the end.
Yeah. And as Carol explained, the special ends with the Jack and Manting being in
a tent,
the woods, and I don't know, just talking regularly about who's saving who the most, and apparently what they are going to eat.
Yeah. I feel like
it seems like it's going to be Chinese,
which kind of brought back the Marvel humor back into the movie.
If I'm being honest, that is one of my favorite scenes.
But I have to say, it's like, I kind of enjoyed that the characters didn't like crack a joke every 5 minutes, because the joke, like, it was like at the end, and it kind of kept the feeling of this being a more adult special, and it kind of made it feel more grounded, as like, hey, all of these characters are in mortal danger. They probably wouldn't do stand-up comedy at the moment.
Yeah, I also feel like even if this special spends so much time with Elsa and Jack, yeah, I also feel like you really get an understanding of who they are as characters. We might not know their backstory, but I feel like we understand from this special who they are and what characters they kind of, or what personalities they kind of have.
Yeah, it's as you said, like in the beginning of the movie, not for Jack, but we directly know, like, we immediately know what Elsa is all about, and we see her character, like, yeah, develop, or not develop, but like we get to see a little bit more sides to her for the movie. Jack, we also like, hey, there's something weird with him, and when it's explained, we also like, yeah, we get his whole deal, which is pretty nice. Like, the characters are easy to grasp.
So Carol, the thing you said about you not liking of one of the actors, what were you talking about there?
One of the actors?
Yeah, you when we talked about the birthday scene.
Okay, so you said that you liked how how they shine when they have these quiet moments on screen, right?
I said I liked how the actors portrayed the characters. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I have to say I didn't like the chemistry between the two leads. It felt very
Okay.
flat.
I didn't feel that way at all, but okay.
I feel like they spoke to each other, but there wasn't like. I mean, at the same time, if they just met each other, and it makes sense that, like, yeah, they are in mortal danger. There doesn't need to be a chemistry, but I'd still like would prefer to them to have some.
I don't know. I kind of felt like there was a chemistry there, and they were, yeah, seeing each other. I guess.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about us, or at least me, saying all the time, like, for a Marvel movie. Because we have to, like, at least touch the topic. For a Marvel movie, this was a, like, this is an offbeaten path. This is something they don't usually do. But if it wasn't Marvel, what would you have thought about the movie then?
I would still have liked it. I like the thing with this special is that it doesn't really have that much of Marvel in it. In some way, you can say like it doesn't reference a lot of Marvel stuff. So I
Besides the
feel like
intro.
this what. Yeah, I kind of feel like this really stands on its own. So quite honest, I would probably like it the same. I'm not sure if I would have watched it if it wasn't Marvel, but yeah.
Actually, same. I feel like that I wouldn't probably watch it if it wasn't Marvel, which maybe says more about us not watching this kind of cinema that often.
Well, I have wanted to watch the old horror or monster movies at some point, but I feel like I have explained this some other time on this channel, but I'm not the biggest horror movie fan.
I mean, we still can try seeing how. I mean, not to discredit the old works, but they're probably not as scary as assumedly like Saw or like more gory stuff.
I don't know the early. So some of the early movies where they wasn't even talking. There's one film that is called Nostafaro, which is kind of the first vampire film, and that film, just how the look of the monster and how they kind of film him still makes it kind of scary to look at.
Wait, how what did you say? What did you call the movie?
Nostafaro.
Oh, I thought it was called Nosferatu.
Yeah, it may be that too.
I just wanted to double check. Because I feel like I also wanted to add maybe if it wasn't a Marvel movie, it would have been a little bit more scarier.
Well, maybe.
Because as I said, with Jack walking in the maze, totally like, I'm not even gonna pretend to sneak around and hide from the other competitors.
But I don't feel like it just because it's a Halloween special. I don't really feel like it needs to be scary at the same time.
I mean, you make a good point, actually. That's it. Just need to have a spooky and whimsical, like mysterious atmosphere. It doesn't have to be like gory and straight up scary.
Well, something else that you wanted to point out, Carol?
Yes. Where the hell did Jack buy his tie? I want it. I want it so bad. It's so cool.
Okay.
Like I've actually tried to looking up similar ties to what he wore in the movie. Like just Jack's whole look. All of the hunters look so goddamn cool. Like it's almost a pity for them to die.
Okay.
Like Jack just being with like skeleton, like vertebrae tie, bedazzled. His whole jacket is in rhinestones, and him like having a mat like skull to honor his ancestors, which are monsters, which were hunted, which are dead now, is such a cool thing. I like that Elsa was like just like yeah, tactical, easy. She's just here for the gem. Like all the other hunters have so much character. Like we didn't like see have any speaking roles from them, but just them seeing how cool they looked, that was enough.
One thing that I also find interesting is how satisfying this show or this special managed to be, even though it's kind of just 45 minutes long, which is kind of hard when you are introducing this whole new kind of world and things like that in just 45 minutes. But it's a new world, new characters, a new setup and a story. But it managed to actually do it, which is impressive. And something that I also heard about with the director is, instead of trying to explain this whole world, let's just show one night in Elsa Bloodstone and Jack Russell's life.
Yeah, which leaves space for people to speculate and think about it. Like, where have the monsters been gone if this is also the superhero universe?
Yeah, I guess this is also the beginning of their more monster titles in some way. At least that is what I've heard, but yeah, let's see.
Before we finish the episode, I also wanted to mention one thing. So, as I maybe have said in the beginning, I have seen this movie twice. At first sighting, I didn't have any nice things to say about it. I thought that the atmosphere was stale, that everything looked nice, but it wasn't suspenseful, that it wasn't like scary. And since you told me that you've seen it and you enjoyed it, I wanted to give it a second chance, because maybe I would have seen something else that you have seen. And I feel like you have to come with an expectation, just like you said, not every Halloween movie special has to be scary. This is not one of them. This is not a gory, scary, people hunting each other in the maze to death. Well, it is, but it's not. The point isn't for it to be horror. It's supposed to be spooky and monster themed. And once you understand that, you can enjoy it a whole lot more. You can enjoy it for what it is.
Okay, I didn't actually know that you disliked it the first time, but okay.
Yeah, on the second viewing, it's much better. Like, things click. You're not looking for either Elsa or Jack to be mauled. Like, you just, he's a vampire. He's trying to save his friend.
I just feel like it's a bit weird every time you mention Elsa, and I'm just thinking, oh, Elsa from Frozen. No.
Yeah, Elsa and Jack Frost, the ultimate ship.
Oh, that.
From the Rise of the Guardians of the Dragons.
Well, how I'm going to end this short is, I really liked it. I really liked it visually, in the sound department way, in the story, in the world, in the acting. Like this, even though that this was a TV special, this is so very well made, and this was a really great special, if I'm being honest. And like, there's so many things that is good about it. So I'm probably going to give this an 8 out of 10.
I see your points, and I will also give it like 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. Because I've turned it out. It's a good movie. It has nice locations, stellar music or like sound design. Outfits are great. The story is simple, but it's short and to the point, and it doesn't drag out anything, which I enjoyed. So, would you like to do a spooky outro, my friend?
Do you have some negative things about it?
I do, but I try to focus on the positives.
I guess if this wanted to be a 9 or a 10 or a 9 for me, I guess it would have been that it would have been a bit longer, but anyway.
For me, it would have gotten a bigger score if it was actually scary.
Yeah, maybe that too.
But that's it.
Let's see. As always, thank you for listening, and we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we have. Don't forget to hit that bell icon or follow us on socials like Twitter. See you again in the next episode, and have a wonderful night.